Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. We're going to be taking a look at the Los Angeles Kings today as they begin a new era there in LA, as they after drafting their number 2 overall draft pick in Quinton Byfield, as well as the development of some of their young guys. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Now let's take a look at the Los Angeles Kings. Alright, so before we get too far into this video, as usual, just want to give a quick plug to our Instagram and Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. Links will be in the description down below, as well as playing throughout the video. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Los Angeles Kings, who are starting to turn the corner on their team as a new era is being born up in LA. We start to look at their lineup, and a lot of changes have started to happen to the Kings lineup. They've been a team that won those championships in the early 2010s, going to the finals, and they are starting to turn the corner as they, kind of went through a little bit of a rebuild after those cups and into a little bit of cap trouble. They've started to emerge out of that now, and we're seeing some of this young talent that the Kings have. They've had their ups and downs with some of these players as well, but it looks like they will be turning the corner this season, and the future looks pretty bright for the LA Kings. So, we're going to start things off looking at their lineup. And starting at their lineup, you've got their forward core. It's a little weak. You have Alex Iafallo, Andre Kopitar, and Dustin Brown as your first line. Now, I like Kopitar down the middle, but let's be honest, Alex Iafallo and Dustin Brown on your first line, I don't know how I feel about that for the LA Kings. Not the strongest. And then on the second line, you have Jeff Carter, Gabe Vilardi, and Quinton Byfield. Now, I think Quinton Byfield could jump into the top 6 at the very least by the end of the season. He may not start there, but I think he has the potential to be there at some point. Gabe Vilardi as well, a young, talented center. We saw him in spades last season. He looks very promising, so it's going to be exciting to see what Vilardi does this season and how much he developed in the offseason. On the third line, you have Martin Frk and Adrian Kempe on the wings, and then down the middle, you have the newly acquired from the New York Rangers, Lias Andersson. So we'll see how he fits in with this LA Kings team. And then on the fourth line, you have Austin Wagner, Mark Lazoit, as well as Carl Grundstrom, who they acquired a couple years back in that Clifford deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's a pretty solid depth piece there. You look at some of these guys, Vilardi, Byfield, Anderson, Lazoit, as well as Grundstrom. That's pretty solid for the LA Kings, and despite losing a guy like Tyler Toffoli this, last season, they've traded out guys like Tanner Pearson over the past couple of years. They're redeveloping that forward core, and we haven't even talked about the young talent that they have in the system yet, because that's to another level. But we'll be looking at that later. Now, looking at their defense, and this is another weak point for the LA Kings. You have Ole Mata on Drew Doughty. Now, Drew Doughty is still solid, but at that big cap hit, I don't know how I feel. At $11 million, Drew Doughty is definitely has underperformed. Ole Mata, that was part of that trade. I don't know how I feel about Ole Mata at this point, especially in your top pairing. Definitely a weakness right now for the LA Kings. And then you've got Mikey Anderson and Matt Waugh on the second pairing. Again, I wouldn't consider that a super strong pairing. But you know what? For the LA Kings, from where they're at right now, I can't complain too much. And then the third pairing, you have McDermott and Sean Walker. Again, that almost seems like AHL defensive line right there, if I'm going to be completely honest. So the LA Kings, now that may not be the most exciting thing, right? But then you look at their young guys, the guys they've been drafting over the past couple of seasons, and that's where this is where this thing turns. You have Alex Turcotte, 19 years old. He was drafted in the first round of the NHL draft back in the day. 2019, 5th overall pick for the LA Kings. So he's a pretty talented prospect. They're pretty excited to see what they have in him. Another young guy, Arthur Kaliev. There's another guy, a 2019 second round pick, 33rd overall. So a late you could consider him pretty much the first or second pick in the second round of the NHL draft. A lot of excitement around this kid as well. as well as Tyler Madden, a young forward they got in that Toffoli trade from the Vancouver Canucks, a former third-round pick in 2018. And then you've just got a list of these guys. Quinton Byfield, second overall pick. Leosh Anderson, another former first-round pick. Rasmus Kupari, who could be a Swiss Army knife, 20 years old. A lot of potential out of him. Again, another guy they picked in the first round in 2018. So the Los Angeles Kings have started to build up their forward core, which I've noticed. A lot of these guys are forwards. But then you look at some of their defensemen. I mean, you have Tobias Bjornfot, 19 years old, former first-round pick in 2019. So these are guys that, the LA Kings are starting to develop their team. And they've always, for the past couple of seasons, a gritty team that's overpaid and old. And unfortunately, in today's NHL, that is not a key for success. And I think once the LA Kings realized that, they started to really change the way they've been playing. And I think with new coaching staff and a new system that they're developing there in LA, I really like the future of the LA Kings. And the goaltending situation is not ideal. I mean, as much as everything that Jonathan Quick has done in his time with the LA Kings, you have Cal Peterson, who's been a pretty promising young goaltender. So we're probably going to see him in spades this season, the young 26-year-old goaltender. But besides that, the pipeline for goaltending, we aren't too sure on the LA Kings. But at the end of the day, I really like the direction they're going. They're still paying Ilya Kovalchuk this season, Mike Richards, Dion Phaneuf. So they're still living in that world a little bit because of some of the cap hell that they've put themselves through. But you know what? It's hard to say that the LA Kings, in that Pacific Division, the way the Anaheim Ducks are in a rebuild right now. The San Jose Sharks, we don't know where they went because they really fell off last season. The Arizona Coyotes are another team. They lost Taylor Hall. They didn't really add anything big this offseason. So you really only have the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks and the two Edmonton teams. So those four teams. So the California teams, it's all up for grabs. So if the LA Kings can at least have bragging rights in the California team's regard, they could potentially do that this season. So let me know in the comment section down below, LA Kings fans as well as fans around the NHL, what do you think of the LA Kings as they start to rebrand themselves? I mean, eventually over the next couple seasons, we're going to see those guys like Alex Turcotte, former 5th overall pick, Arthur Kaliev, Rasmus Kupari, Tobias Bjornfot. I mean, there's a lot of potential for this LA Kings team over the next couple of years. Yes, they're in a rebuild right now, but I think it's going to pay off in the end for the LA Kings. So comment down below what you think of that. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.